morning. How's everyone doing? Our small but vibrant congregation. For those who don't know me, and you all do, anyone live streaming, I'm Reverend Alan Hicks. I'll be your presider and celebrant today. Rachel is out of town. I don't remember where she is, but she's out of town. So you've got me. Should be good service. I do not have a lot of announcements this morning. We have this project going on with Deb Estep of getting recipes from people, your favorite recipes that they're going to collect in a book or a binder or something. So the deadline to get in your recipes, if you have any, would be on Tuesday, I believe it is. So if you have recipes, get it in quick. The last time they did this it had to be 15, 20 years ago. And I still have a card that has all of those on there. Some of them are pretty good. Some of them, they're pretty good though. Anyway, I think that's the only announcement really I have. On birthdays and anniversaries, I have 3 people listed for birthdays. Craig McLennan, Ann Flanders, and Diane McCormick. None of those people are here this morning. Craig is one of our longtime parishioners who resides at Washington Oaks, just a few blocks away from here. Great guy. I think he is approximately, I want to say 96, 97, something like that. Really nice guy. So I see him every couple of weeks. Diane McCormick is our office administrator. She's great. She's great. Ann Flanders, I'm not sure. But anyway, birthday prayer. On your laminated sheet, the second prayer down, let us pray. Watch over your children, O Lord, as their days increase. Bless and guide them wherever they may be. Strengthen them when they stand. Comfort them with discouraged or sorrowful. Raise them up if they fall. And in their hearts may your peace, which passes all understanding, abide all the days of their lives. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. And I do not have any anniversaries listed, I believe. So, are there any other announcements from the congregation that we need to hear? David Spring has just raised his finger saying he has something.
I just remembered, I forgot to mention before, in case anybody remembers back in the late 1960s, the composer of the main program piece for the Philharmonic Orchestra this afternoon at 3 o'clock is a former organist at Trinity, who studied at the University of Washington and played organ for 3 years here. He grew up at Trinity, and he was a college student playing the organ here. And Barbara Harper remembers him well. She was part of that. And anyway, he's still alive. He's William Baldwin. He's a world-traveled and celebrated composer. He performed all over the world, including New York Philharmonic and London and everything else. So if you're curious or interested, remember the name William Baldwin. Today, 3 p.m. at the Center, which is the big auditorium about 2 blocks away on Fulton. Just across the street from us over there. So if you're not doing anything this afternoon, it should be a really good program.
Very good. Thank you, David. In case you didn't hear that, big concert, Everett Symphony, 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock this afternoon, when the featured performer is an organist who was here at Trinity, used to be here, so. Okay, let's take a couple of minutes to get our hearts and our minds in our right place. Be back in a second. Blessed be God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And blessed be God's kingdom, now and forever. Amen. The peace of the Lord be always with you. And with thy spirit. Let us pray. O Creator God, you are known by your loving embrace of the undeserving and those who suffer. Grant a sight of your justice and conviction to love all creatures through Jesus Christ, the wisdom of creation, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, now and forever. Amen. Please be seated.
A reading from the prophet Amos. Alas for those who are at ease in Zion, and those who feel secure in Mount Samaria. Alas for those who lie on beds of ivory and lounge on their couches and eat lambs from the flock and calves from the stall, who sing idle songs to the sound of the harp, and like David improvise on instruments of music, who drink wine from bowls and anoint themselves with the finest oils, but are not grieved over the ruin of Joseph. Therefore, they shall now be the first to go into exile, and the revelry of the loungers shall pass away. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Let us read responsively Psalm 91. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High abides under the shadow of the Almighty. He shall say to the Lord, you are my refuge and my stronghold.
My God, in whom I put my trust.
He shall deliver you from the snare of the hunter.
And from the deadly pestilence.
He shall cover you with his pinions, and you shall find refuge under his wings.
His faithfulness shall be a shield and buckler.
You shall not be afraid of any terror by night, of the plague that stalks in the darkness, Because he is bound to me in love, therefore will I deliver him. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. With long life will I satisfy him. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
A reading from the first letter of Paul to Timothy. There is great gain in godliness combined with contentment, for we brought nothing into the world, so that we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with these. But those who want to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. And in their eagerness to be rich, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pains. But as for you, man of God, shun all this. Pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, gentleness. Fight the good fight of the faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called, and for which you made the good confession in the presence of many witnesses. In the presence of God, who gives life to all things, and of Christ Jesus, who in his testimony before Pontius Pilate made the good confession, I charge you to keep the commandment without spot or blame until the manifestation of our Lord Jesus Christ, which he will bring about at the right time. He who is blessed and only sovereign, the King of kings and Lord of lords. It is he alone who has immortality and dwells in unapproachable light, whom no one has ever seen or can see. To him be honor and eternal dominion. Amen. As for those who in the present age are rich, command them not to be haughty or to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but rather on God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, generous, and ready to share, thus storing up for themselves the treasure of a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of the life that really is life. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The Holy Gospel of our Savior Jesus Christ according to Luke. Jesus said, "There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and who feasted sumptuously every day. And at his gate lay a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who longed to satisfy his hunger with what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs would come and lick his sores. The poor man died and was carried away by the angels to be with Abraham. The rich man also died and was buried. In Hades, where he was being tormented, he looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus by his side. He called out, 'Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in agony in these flames.' But Abraham said, 'Child, Remember that during your lifetime you received good things, and Lazarus in like manner evil things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. Besides all this, between you and us is a great chasm has been fixed, so that those who might want to pass from here to you cannot do so, and no one can cross from there to us. He said, Then, Father, I beg you to send to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that he may warn them, so that they will not also come into this place of torment. Abraham said, They have Moses and the prophets. They should listen to them. He said, No, Father Abraham, but if someone goes to them from the dead, they will repent. He said to them, If they do not listen to Moses and the prophets, neither will they be unconvinced, even if someone rises from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord. Most gracious God, be with us today as we worship together. Bless our hearts and our minds that we might do your will. In Christ's name, amen. Please be seated. For those of you who've been coming to these services, and for those of you who've been watching live streaming, I want you to notice that for the past several weeks, our gospel readings have had one underlying theme: those who have and those who have not, those who have riches and those that do not, those who have an abundance of material goods and money, and those who are barely eking by, living on the edge of subsistence. For as long as people have been around, there have always been those who just have more than others. And there's always been those who have simply less than others. I say it that way because I don't want to sound fundamentally biased against those who have more money and wealth. Nowhere in the Bible will you find any place that says having money is a bad thing. That might surprise some of you, but it's true. It's not a bad thing to have money. If you are one of the fortunates who live with an abundance of money or wealth or fortunes, then good for you. Whether you got it from an inheritance, or you struck it rich in the lottery, or you just worked your tail off, it's good. There never was the issue about money with anything written in Scripture. We live in this world to experience and to learn and to accomplish things. And if you happen to be successful and are justly rewarded, great. As Paul wrote in today's second reading in Timothy, he says, For we brought nothing into the world, so that we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with these. These are the basics people need to stay alive: food, clothing, shelter. All people strive to have these basic 3 needs. Those are not extravagances. Those are necessities. It is when you are successful then you can begin to experience a few of those extravagances. You've earned them, so enjoy them. But what about those of us who weren't so successful? What if you are one of those who didn't get that great inheritance, or didn't even have a couple of dollars to buy that lottery ticket? And sometimes that hard work that you put in just keeps your head above water, and that's about it. Getting ahead, we're just trying to survive. And what if I were born with a disability or a handicap? You think my chances of being wildly successful are very good? Probably about the same as buying one of those mega lottery tickets. We who live in this country are so lucky. We have the freedom to try and become successful. Supposedly, everyone here has the potential to become whomever they want to become. This, supposedly, is the land of opportunity, where wealth is out there, and you just have to go and grab it. This, supposedly, is the land of the free and the home of the brave, where all men are created equal. Sorry about you women out there. Oh yeah, and let's just ignore Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution that decided that black slaves were only counted as 3/5 of a human being. It's actually written there. We have whole swaths of society that are still burdened by the pain and the injury of racism and bigotry that was inflicted on whole races and cultures. Those with the power that be back then decided that some people just weren't as good as other people and could be marginalized by economic and societal prejudice. It was okay to make sure that they didn't have or didn't get any say in how they were governed or taxed. These injuries and ills created generational trauma that ensured that those people and their ancestors and their legacies never had a chance to improve on their lot in life. From father to son to son to son and on, generational poverty passed on through the generations. And don't let anyone tell you that's a lie or some woke fantasy. Truth is truth. People never had a chance. Indigenous people from across the globe were marginalized, traumatized, and slaughtered just because the people with the money and influence deemed them less than, and their cultures were considered to be impure. The issue is that with wealth and riches comes power and massive societal influence. You have the money, you get to make the rules. Too many people throughout history became corrupted and addicted to money and power and influence. The search and drive to become more and more wealthy became an addictive drug for those hell-bent on getting more and more and more. Are we over it yet? It's probably worse now than it ever has been. Due to our technological advances and instant communications, influencers can now touch millions of people at the touch of a button with whatever nefarious and evil thoughts that they have. Their power grows and grows, and their thirst for more power and money grows. From Timothy, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and in their eagerness to be rich, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pains. We who live in this country are so lucky. Unlike other countries, we do have the right and the power to speak up and to give voice to our objections. We can protest and bring light to the darkness that dwells within some elements of our society. These so-called leaders have to be called out loudly and continually because of the deliberate harm they callously inflict. People are not pawns to be toyed with. The people who have inflicted and unleash so much anger and abuse and pain in this world have fallen off the path that Jesus puts us on. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I don't remember who said it, but I like it. History is rife with people who had absolute power, and it destroyed them and so many millions around them. Now, within this past century, actual genocides have happened because of the absolute power granted to a few lost people. Between Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, Chairman Mao, approximately 90 million people were killed or exterminated. That's just almost unfathomable to think that. And that's just within the past 100 years. And that's not counting some of the genocides that are actually going on in Africa currently. In the end, most of these despots paid for their crimes against humanity. People get used to their power and their positions in society. They grow accustomed to the lifestyle that they think is accorded to them. And the other people, the less thans, the people below them in society, well, they can just make do for themselves. This is not what life is about. Remember, we brought nothing into this world so that we can take nothing out of it. We own nothing. God owns everything. We belong to God. Now, a little refresher, or maybe you already knew this, but Jesus spoke about 38 to 40 parables that are written in the Bible. Did you know that only one of them did he actually name a person in the parable? And that happens in today's parable, Lazarus. Why do you think he did that? If you remember what happened in today's gospel reading, a poor man, Lazarus, lay begging day after day outside the gate of a very rich man. He was a very miserable man, covered with sores, so much so that even the dogs who walked by would lick his sores. He was starving and so very pathetic. And I would have to say, fortunately, he died. He stood with the angels with Abraham. And he was blessed when he received comfort in heaven. But why was he named in this parable? Because he was seen and he had worth. On earth, he was a poor, poor man whom people ignored and passed by. They averted their eyes so they didn't have to make eye contact with this wretched man with his open sores. Jesus mentioned his name because he wanted to give this man value, a name. He had value, and he was as good as anyone who passed by him. The rich man had his opportunities to help this fellow human being, but he did not. This poor man lay outside the rich man's gates day after day, trying to get even the scraps that fell from the rich man's plate. The rich man did nothing but feed his own gut. Jesus is telling us that everyone has worth and deserves to be seen and heard. Intuitively, we all know this, but instinctively or by reflex, we recoil or we avert our eyes when we see people we deem to be wretched or not up to our stations in life. How many times you walk by a Safeway and there's a man sitting on the sidewalk with nothing, just looking for a handout? How often do you slip him a 5 or maybe a 10? He's a human being just like the rest of us. He has value. He has worth. I know that a lot of things I've mentioned today are mostly beyond our capacity to deal with on an individual basis. But what we can try to do is to understand that we have opportunities to help another person or family. We can share that which we have. As an example, I think it was just last year that we had a coat drive to benefit people in our community who needed warm winter coats. We want to do that again this year? I think last year, I just happened to mention it one time. I gave a sermon or something, and I just mentioned it. And within a week, rolling racks started appearing in the narthex out here. I think we ended up with, God, at the end of after several weeks, like 60 or 70 coats we took and donated. We helped people, and it didn't do anything to hurt any of us. I still have in my closet at home probably, many coats. Some of them I haven't worn for years. I need to bring them in. So let's think about that. I am a blessed person to have been in this community of very fine folks. Everyone here is wonderful in my eyes, but not everyone is as blessed as I am. This is why we have to overtly go out of our way to sometimes help the other. We have baskets out in the narthex for food. We have a food pantry at the church. The people can come in and we actually give them food when they're lacking. We need to make sure that is filled all the time. We have to go help the other, to not avert our eyes when we see someone hurting or living in today's world, which can be so very cruel. Every person alive has worth. Every person has a name and should be mentioned and addressed. Do not avert your eyes from them. Even if you give someone a smile, it makes a difference in their world. Lazarus had a name, and he was seen and mentioned by Jesus. Can we not follow Jesus' example? Life isn't easy, and for a lot of people, it is really hard. These are our brothers and sisters who are struggling, and it is incumbent on those of us who have more to share more. What a wonderful, beautiful world it would be if we all helped each other. With love and blessed thoughts to each and every one of you, in Christ's name, amen. As able in body or spirit for the Creator of faith and the prayers of our people. As we say together, we believe in one God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all that is seen and unseen.
Loving God, even the sparrow has found a home, and the swallow a nest for herself where she places her young near your altar. You are attentive to all you have made. God, who listens to every living thing, help us listen as you do. Loving God, help us provide refuge to every animal and plant with whom we live. Help us be attentive to all you have made. God, in whom all creation subsists. Loving God, when Jesus cried out and gave up his spirit, the earth shook and the rocks split. You are known by the whole of creation that listens to you. God, to whom all creation responds. Help us respond to you. Loving God, help us to hear and know you just are as the earth and the rocks do. Help us to learn from the way in which we see creation recognize your glorious beauty. God, in whom all creation responds. Help us respond to you. Loving God, you are present in your creation and seek to heal her wounds. You can be found walking in the garden. Open our eyes to see you, the gardener. God, who is present in your creation. Help us be present. Loving God, we often abandon your creation and cause its wounds. Help us to follow in your footsteps and learn to walk in the garden like you. God, who is present in your creation.
Loving God, who hears every voice and knows each cry of injustice and is attentive to the suffering of the earth, teach us to listen. Bring healing to our lives, that we may protect the world and not prey on it, that we may listen to the world you have created and not close ourselves off from it. Reveal to us the ways in which we have failed to hear your voice and how we treat the earth. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Let us confess our sins against God and our neighbor. Holy and merciful God, we confess that we have failed you. Almighty God, have mercy on you, forgive you all of your sins through our Lord Jesus Christ, strengthen you in all goodness, and by the power of the Holy Spirit, keep you in eternal life. The peace of the Lord be always with you. Let us share with each other a sign of Christ's peace. Peace. You heard the same sermon again.
Well,
A few variations on it.
jazzed it up.
Yeah, I changed it a little bit. Let us walk in love as Christ walked in love and gave himself an offering and a sacrifice for love. lift up your hearts. Let us give thanks unto our Lord God. It is very meet, right, and our bounden duty that we should at all times and in all places give thanks unto thee, O Lord, Holy Father, Almighty, everlasting God, through Jesus Christ our Lord, according to whose true promise of the Holy Ghost came down from heaven, lighting upon the disciples, to teach them and to lead us into all truth, uniting peoples of many tongues in the confession of one faith, and giving to thy church the power to serve thee as a royal priesthood and to preach the gospel to all nations. Therefore, we laud and magnify thy glorious name, evermore praising thee and singing. All glory be to thee, O Lord our God, for that thou didst create heaven and earth, and didst make us in thine own image, and of thy tender mercy didst give thine only Son, Jesus Christ, to take our nature upon him, and to suffer death upon the cross for our redemption. He made there a full and perfect sacrifice for the whole world, and did institute, and in his holy gospel, command us to continue a perpetual memory of that his precious death and sacrifice until his coming again. For in the night in which he was betrayed, he took bread, and when he had given thanks to thee, he broke it and gave it to his disciples, saying, Take, eat, this is my body which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Likewise, after supper, he took the cup, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying, Drink this, all of you. This is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for you and for many for the remissions of sins. Do this as oft as ye shall drink it in remembrance of me. Wherefore, O Lord and Heavenly Father, we thy people do celebrate and make with these thy holy gifts, which we now offer unto thee, the memorial thy Son hath commanded us to make, having in remembrance his blessed passion and precious death, his mighty resurrection and glorious ascension, and looking for his coming again with power and great glory. And we most humbly beseech thee, O merciful Father, to hear us, and with thy word and Holy Spirit to bless and sanctify these gifts of bread and wine. That they be made into us into the body and blood of thy dearly beloved Son, Jesus Christ. And we earnestly desire thy fatherly goodness to accept this, our sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving, whereby we offer and present unto thee, O Lord, ourselves, our souls, and bodies. Grant, we beseech thee, that all who partake of this holy communion may worthily receive the most precious body and blood of thy Son, Jesus Christ, and be filled with thy grace and heavenly benediction, and also that we and all thy whole church may be made one body with him, that he may dwell in us, and we in him, through the same Jesus Christ our Lord, by whom, and with whom, and in whom, in the unity of the Holy Ghost, all honor and glory be unto thee, O Father Almighty, world without end. Amen. And now, as our Savior Christ has taught us, we are bold to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Hallelujah. Christ, our Passover, is sacrificed for us. Look, the body of Christ is broken for the life of the world. Here is Christ coming to us in bread and in wine, the gifts of God for the people of God, holy gifts for holy people. All are welcome to God's table. Let all partake of a spiritual communion through the blessing of the Holy Spirit, who unites us one to another and our community to Christ. please rise in body or spirit for our post-communion prayer. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, we thank you for feeding us with the spiritual food of the most precious body and blood of your Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ, and for assuring us in these holy mysteries that we are living members of the body of your Son and heirs of your eternal kingdom. And now, Father, send us out to do the work you have given us to do, to love and serve you as faithful witnesses of Christ our Lord. To him, to you, and to the Holy Spirit be honor and glory, now and forever. Amen. May God, who established the dance of creation, who marveled at the lilies of the field, who transforms chaos to order, lead us to transform our lives and the church to listen to the voice of all creatures that reflect God's glory in creation. And may the blessing of our Creator, who is our Redeemer and Sustainer, find home in your heart in incarnation through your actions. To love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.